very, very honored as well to have some wonderful, wonderful, powerful speakers with us today. As you can see on the screen, we have Mr. Elvis Omboto. He is joining us all the way from Dallas, Texas. So thank you so much, Elvis, for agreeing to participate in this very, very important conversation. We also have Christopher Lafayette, who is joining us all the way from Silicon Valley in California. He's coming in with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of experience. It is such an honor to have you, Chris. And we are really, really looking forward for, to learn from you as well. Unfortunately, Brandon had a medical emergency. He will not be joining us on this session. However, he plans to join us on the next session, which is part 2 of the Future Ready MentaPoint webinars on June 13th. So be sure to join us at that particular point. All right, so we're going to start with a few housekeeping rules. So basically what we're going to do, we have about 100 registrants. So we want to make sure that if you have any question, hold it until the very end. And please use the Q&A section on there to ask your question. You feel free to ask anonymously or with your name on there, but please hold your questions until the very end because we might be answering your questions along the way. This is the agenda. The second thing is that we're going to go through what is Men Impact Change. Some of you may be aware of Men Impact Change. You may have already attended Men Impact Change in the past, but some of you may be wondering what is Men Impact Change. So we're going to cover a little bit of that. Then we're going to jump in and have a fireside chat with Mr. Christopher Lafayette and also Elvis Omboto. And then at that point, we're going to open it up for a Q&A session as well. So what is Men Impact Change? Men Impact Change is a dynamic, multicultural 501c3 organization founded in 2014. So that means we are celebrating 10 years since we founded Men Impact Change. And we are very, very honored and really looking forward to celebrating our 10th anniversary with you. We're going to give you details at the very end. But in the meantime, save October 12th. If you are in the DMV area, you're more than welcome to come in and celebrate with us. So Men Impact Change was inspired by a quote by Frederick Douglass that says, "It's easier to build a boy than repair a broken man." Our mission is to advance disadvantaged boys through entrepreneurial education, exposure to professional networks, and connection to mentors. Our vision is to bridge the economic gap while building capable men and leaders of the next generation. So you are in one of our MentorPoint webinar, and the goal is to supercharge your skill set with relevant and timely monthly sessions, and also to connect you with like-minded professionals, connect you with potential mentors, coaches as well. Our theme this year is Future Ready. So we are getting ahead of the AI future with a series of Future Ready monthly webinars. So the first one is kicking off tonight. And the topic is Basics and Easy Tips to Embrace AI Despite Uncertainty. The next one is June 13, Leveraging AI in the Workplace. July 11, Unlocking AI's Business Potential. August 1st, Changes in the Age of AI. So as you have noticed, we are covering a lot of AI. So if you'd like to register, all the links are up and running on our website, which is menimpactchange.org. So Men Impact Change MentorPoint webinars. Past MentorPoint workshops have included Design Thinking, which is a series that we hosted in the peak of the pandemic. This particular session better positioned you to develop unique entrepreneurial solutions amidst the COVID-19 crisis. So I'm going to pause right there and ask. I see attendees, the number of attendees is quickly going up. So if you attended one of the design thinking mentor point, let us know on the chat section. It was a very, very powerful session, especially when there was a global crisis. As you respond, I'm going to keep on going. So in the same way, these future-ready webinar sessions will better position you to survive and thrive, not only survive, but also thrive in the age of AI. We've had a lot going on everywhere on social media, on TV, where everyone is saying that AI is here to stay. And unfortunately, the rate of AI revolution is happening at the speed of light. If you're not prepared to learn and embrace it, we will all be left behind. At Men Impact Change, we always say that behind every crisis, there is a great opportunity. And today, amidst the AI revolution, where people are uncertain, fearful, we want to remind you that behind every major revolution, behind every crisis, there is a great opportunity. Now, what really inspired us to move forward and really bring this information to you is a couple of years ago, again, amidst the pandemic, we were able to come across a very unique organization called the Institute of the Future. This particular organization was the same organization that predicted the pandemic 10 years before it really happened. The same organization is predicting that the next big crisis is going to be brought by artificial intelligence. We've already seen deepfakes. We've seen the spread of fake news through artificial intelligence. And Elvis and I, we were just discussing about an hour ago, that the Met Gala, anyone that saw the Met Gala who has been seeing some of the clips on social media, there's a lot of AI-generated content and pictures on Met Gala. So AI is such a big conversation that we need to have. And a lot of times, especially in our communities, a lot of people, they wait until it's too late to jump in. So we want to make sure that we all get ahead of the game. We learn as much as possible. And that is why we brought Christopher, again, all the way from Silicon Valley, Elvis, who is the senior data engineer, to come in and bring that information to you. We have shown this graph before. These are just stages of change. So when you're embracing any change, whether it's changes in your professional life, changes in the society, people go through different phases. So the first phase is shock. So a lot of people may be shocked right now that we have this AI, we do not know where to start, but it's here and it's here to stay. So some of you may be in this phase right here. Others may be in denial. Maybe they may be saying, oh no, it's nothing, my life is not going to change, my work is not going to be impacted. You're in denial. The next phase is frustration, and then depression. And then once you get over the depression phase, you start climbing up and you start experimenting. And then you make the decision to embrace whatever change that is. And at the very end is integration or acceptance. Now, this phase can take maybe a couple of weeks for some of you, or it may take years to embrace the change. So our goal today is to get you to integration phase, the acceptance phase, in a faster rate so that you're not left behind. All right, so we are going to share a poll so we can know exactly where you are in terms of AI and AI knowledge. So the very first poll is right there. How do you feel about the emergence of AI? We're going to give you just a few minutes for you to answer. All right, we're gonna give maybe like 5 more seconds. All right, perfect. So a lot of people are not sure about the AI. So 37%. Well, quite a number of you are very optimistic. That is good. 53% of you are very optimistic. And 11% are prepared. So I'm very, very happy that we it seems like we have, most of you are very much prepared to embrace artificial intelligence. And those are the results right there. All right. So I see some comments on the Q&A section. Please use the chat feature to make any comments. The Q&A, you can use it at the very end. Please go ahead and use the chat section so that everyone can see. The Q&A, only the panelists will be able to see. All right. Thank you for participating in the poll. So the next session here is a very powerful session with Christopher Lafayette. As I mentioned, he's joining us from Silicon Valley. He is the founder of Gatherverse. He is an educator in AI and XR. And before we go any further, I'm sure a lot of you may be wondering, who is this lady? I did not introduce myself. So for those of you that do not know who I am, for some reason, I always assume that people know me, especially because we've been doing this for 10 years. But for those of you that have never attended Men Impact Change, my name is Sonny Njao, and I am the founder and CEO of Men Impact Change. My life's calling has always been to advance the life of boys and men. And that is through such sessions, bringing men that are very experienced in various topics to showcase their expertise to the young men, especially those young men that don't have father figures. So that's my life's calling, and it's such an honor to be able to use this particular platform to share that information. With that, Mr. Chris, the stage is yours. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we're going to jump right into a few questions that we have for you.
Sure. I'm happy to be here, and I think the chat is disabled for many people in the chat, so they're saying that right now. So shout out to everybody that's trying to chat and you can't. So with that said, my name is Christopher Lafayette. I'm an emerging technologist, humanitarian. I'm here in Silicon Valley. I'm a hacker, a good hacker. I like to build. I like to explore. I like to disrupt. I study currently 270 plus emerging technologies within the eco-habitat itself through eco-convergence framework. And there's a lot to consider where we're at in this AI era. And the most important thing that we can do when it comes to innovation is innovating for human betterment.
Awesome, awesome. So, Chris, what inspired you to build your company?
Well, I have several different ventures and several different companies. A lot of people will refer to Gatherverse.
Yes.
.org, which is just a platform that really there were so many of us that when the metaverse really started taking off, we were quite prepared for that. And a lot of people were defining what the metaverse is and will become, but nobody really looked at it from a perspective of humane consideration. And I thought it prudent to archetype and come out with the 8 standards of the metaverse, which is dealing in accessibility and education, community development, safety, privacy, wellness, ethics, uh, and really put that out there, and it really took off, and a lot of people were interested in that. And what we came to find out is this very unique and very fun intersection between technology and humanity itself, which is in a lot of ways still undiscovered country. Generally, we'll see startups developed and 501(c) nonprofit organizations built, but we'll see this built with the onus of being able to focus on a specific focal point when it comes to human betterment on the nonprofit side, or we'll see these major platforms and technology companies that have the wherewithal and the capital distribution to be able to allocate in some ways, considering the money that they make and the revenue that they generate, really a parsley sum to different human betterment initiatives and programs that are out there. And so that's kind of, and they do that through their comms, and they do that through policy. And so when you look at really the appetite to be able to fully engage 100% a platform that can find success and drive within this global ecology, you don't see too many platforms that just care. A lot of people are innovating to hack, make, break, code, and build and disrupt, and so that they can create the next unicorn. But the reality is that the more unicorns we make and the more people that we leave behind, there will be nobody else to be able to celebrate with you. And the reality is, if we do not give accessibility and democratize access and technology literacy to those that need it, those that desire it, and it continues to be an imbalance and distributor of education when it comes to technology, at some point you will have social anarchy. You will have disrupted systems, because the reality is that we're headed and that we're firmly in the grips of the AI era. And it's the most disruptive technology that we've seen contemporary at our time. People are being fired and laid off left and right. And now that robots are on their way and very at an intelligent level, the closer we get to AGI, the more disruption that we'll see. Sure, some jobs will be created, but we're only at simple AI, narrow AI right now, and we're starting to see tremendous disrupt, whether it's to the threat of the ecosystem of misinformation, disinformation, or it's the threat of somebody's livelihood and jobs. And so the deal is that we would graduate from school, either enter the workforce, or we go to college, get an education. And we already know that that deal has been disrupted years ago. But the reality is when you attempt to be able to even go into those steps and ingress into those steps of so-called the pathway to success, it's no longer existent. And if it does exist, it only exists for a few, and those that have the wherewithal and the means and the gain to be able to attain it. But how is it that you're supposed to reach the threshold of a castle and you don't even know which way to go? And so there's not enough people, and there's not enough programs, there's not enough mentors, there's not enough leaders that are willing to sacrifice to be able to come down to where the people are, to be able to serve as a bridge and an intermediary to get them where they are to where they want to be and to manifest their desire. But so has it, Silicon Valley, transmetropolitan, transcontinental technology hubs around the world continue to put the emphasis on profit and money over people and opportunity of growth and societal growth. And if you continue to do that and you ignore the mass amount of people, you're going to find yourself in a very bad situation, because it's one thing where mankind competes with mankind, but when I get outdone by a robot,
Yep.
right. So, in your opinion, how can our community navigate this fear, this uncertainty, and build AI confidence? Because right now, according to the poll, we have about 37% that are not sure where to start. They're not sure what to do. So what would you advise them? Where should they start?
listen, for all that's listening, listen, I've been traveling around the world, especially in this last particular year, talking about artificial intelligence. I've been traveling around the United States. I advise public sector, private sector, some of the biggest companies in the world. Those are facts. And the reality is that the next steps that you take when you leave here, you really, really need to embrace the opportunity of understanding where AI has its native beginnings, where we're at today when it comes to AI and artificial intelligence scale, to understand and comprehend that the layer and the level of that in which you're interacting with today of AI is so simple, it's so narrow, that we are headed to what was the colloquial artificial general intelligence, which that's even subject We are headed into prospectively artificial superintelligence, and then we are headed into theory of mind and proof and theory of mind and self-aware, and thinking about cosmic AI and other different levels and manifestations of these type of capable machines. You know, when you think about the definition of artificial intelligence, it's really a technology that in some ways you could say that it's a technology that mimics itself and mimics human intelligence in machines. And when you start to think about the magnitude of that, it's not going to be enough that you know how to use prompts within ChatGPT. Everybody's going to do that.
Right.
We now need to go the pathway of commandeering these machines to serve to the benefit of us becoming entrepreneurs and explorers. Because there are those right now as we speak, as we're having this meeting, I hope everyone's sitting there leaning in with you. Just walk with me for a little bit. There are people right now that are highly talented, well-educated, and there's a whole entire workforce of unemployed people right now.
Right.
And they do not have a plan B. They do not have a next step. And there are droves of people and talent coming from educational platforms that to some degree, academia cannot yet wrap their full mind around the magnitude and the disruption of these models. Where's the way to go? Discovery. Building out your own sovereign AI and start to construct your own AI foundational models. There's not enough time in this fireside to tell me how to get there. You can connect with myself. You can connect with others that have the wherewithal and the information to be able to help guide you on LinkedIn. You can go to my website. You can send a pigeon at my door with a window in its feet, with a scroll, and we can figure out how we chop wood together. But now is the best time ever to collaborate and to build and become innovators, not with the intent of having a unicorn established company, but creating a small microeconomy so that you can put yourself in a hireable position to hire people so that you all can be able to go on this journey together and innovate and sustain and build, because times are certainly getting ready to change.
Mm-hmm. And it's very true. Christopher is very, very accessible. For those of you tuning in, I would highly recommend that you follow him on LinkedIn. He is very accessible, and you will see some of the amazing work that he does. And that will help you to kind of normalize, this conversation as well. So thank you so much for that. So the other question that a lot of people are asking is, AI is quickly evolving, and some of us cannot keep up. So what do you recommend? How do we keep up with the constant evolution of artificial intelligence?
As an emergent technologist, I posed a question years ago. It's documented. I said it in several different venues before. This accelerated fashion of AI is that what happens when the technology becomes more advanced than a technologist? So don't worry, just because you may not be a technologist. And if you, here's my bigger concern. It's not necessarily that you can keep up, but the people that innovate and build these things can't keep up with their own innovations, and people in different sectors cannot even keep up with the magnitude of these technologies that are being accelerated and perpetrated into markets for consumption. That's my bigger concern, is the runaway train. And so what happens when the technology becomes more advanced than the technologist? A lot of the world proposed that we slow down when it comes to developing. Nope, too late for that. Some people say, no, we're at a good pace now. I am an accelerationist, and I am fervently against slowing down. We need to increase the cadence and the tempo of how we move on this, because the cadence and the tempo of technology has accelerated, and we need to keep up with it, or it is going to stay ahead of us. It is continuing to be severely disruptive. But how can you do that? Because the level of ingenuity of the autonomy within these systems, and being where we're headed when it comes to hyper realistic immersive simulated environments, don't look at AI as just something that you type into and it renders about copy content, or it creates a diffusion model image like DALL-E 3 or Midjourney or Canva AI or something like that. That's nothing. Even the Soras that we see out there, the stable diffusions, if you will, the runways, that's minuscule compared to what's coming down the pipeline. The idea was never for us to stare and have knock on these devices, if you will. That's never been, the idea was for us to operate within these devices.
Mhm.
Now what happens when the metaverse becomes a colloquial ingress for business dealings and conducive for deal-making environments and export of goods, and start thinking about how you distribute real-world assets on-chain, thinking about blockchain distribution, and now you start thinking it's more than just meme coins and altcoins and bitcoins and Doge coins and all of that. Shout out to the Doge armies. Shout out to them. Shout out to Shiba Inu army. Here's what I'm getting at. What happens when it comes to involving precious metals of gold and platinum and copper, palladium, tin, aluminum? What happens when it comes to distributing and allocating the apple tree that you can now own in Brazil, and you can look at it at a 24/7 basis, and you can have delivered that apple tree directly to your door in the metaverse, and it's done not by you, but a completely artificially intelligent Kodak avatar rendered version of yourself that's indiscernible to the human eye, not just in visibility, but in concatenative and parametric synthesis, meaning the speech that it cannot tell whether Christopher Lafayette is sitting here talking with you or if it is my AI assistant companion. This is where we're headed to and more.
So are you saying that there's no way of keeping up? How do we manage the change? That is where I'm getting to. How do we manage the changes that are coming about as a result of this evolution?
Part of what I want to say to you is that for me as an emergent technologist, I've had this title and this distinct pleasure for years now of studying how ecologically technologies influence one another within the whole ecohabitat. And there's over 270 of them plus right now. How do you keep up with this? There's news, there's media, there's articles, there's journals, there's white papers, there's different information that comes down the pipeline. My best suggestion to you is keep up with the cadence of the media cycle for now. Attend platforms like Gatherverse where it's peer-to-peer expression and people can talk and you can gain a whole lot. We've had over 21 major global summits covering a number of topics, whether we're dealing with artificial intelligence or mental wellness, or whether we're dealing with the environment and climate impact and sustainability or falter, or whether we're dealing with when it comes to all different number of different types of issues from Web 3 to Web 2.5 to a number of different topics that we cover, whether it's African or the Asian ecosystem. There's so many different European ecosystem. There's so many things we talked about, but right now it's to make sure that you're keeping ahead with what's really being deployed that's coming out to market. Large language foundational models, generative pre-trained transformers, dealing with, you can go all the way to dealing with to understanding convolutional neural networks. You can start thinking about GANs, understand the terminology, what's a weight, what does inference mean, start to understand at least the construct of the type of models that you see deployed, and what is a diffusion model? What does that mean? You know, what's a constellation ecosystem when it comes to open source and closed source models? And what's the difference between Llama 2 and Llama 3, which is the biggest open source model in the world right now? What is it that ChatGPT is building? What is it Open's building with Anthropic? What is it that they're building when it comes to Pi? What about, I can go on and on with this ton of different models. Large models.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah,
That's a very, very good point. Surround yourself with AI content. Sign up for newsletters that are AI related. Join, the Gatherverse as well. Keep up with the media. I like that. Join sessions like Men Impact Change, AI conversation. Just surround yourself with people that are having those conversations. At first, it might be difficult to really understand what they're talking about, but the more you listen, then it becomes a little bit easier to digest.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's doing something. And an employer will say, this person has a lot of skill over here. This person doesn't have as much skill, but she or he understands a little bit where we're at with AI and applicable tool use. And you may get a job over somebody coming out of Harvard and you're coming out of some community college like I did, a dropout. And
Mhm.
you may get that job because you have a better understanding of where we're at today. And that serves the needs and the benefits of the ones that want to
Hmm.
invest money into you. Does that make sense?
It makes sense,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And with that, we want to launch the second part of the poll. So here is a two-part question. The first question is, what stage are you in utilizing AI tools? What stage are you in utilizing AI tools? And the second question is, what expectation do you have of artificial intelligence? All right, giving one more second before we jump into a chat with Elvis. Elvis, thank you so much for your patience. We are coming to you right now. All right. All right, and there are the results. What stage are you? We have a lot of people that are in beginner level. So 77% of our audience, they are in beginner level. And then number two, what expectations do you have of artificial intelligence? So 91% says AI will have a positive impact in my life, whether at school, at work, and in the society as well. Awesome. All right, so Elvis, you are a senior data engineer, and you also are the CEO of EPCO Consulting. So what inspired you to get into data engineering?
Well, first of all, I wish, I mean, first of all, I want to thank Chris for actually finding time to come join us and share your knowledge. I believe that information is power. I know if we go into the question of Timrit Gabriel, I don't know if you know her, Chris. I feel like you must have shared some coffee together somewhere. Uh,
Timid is a very brilliant-minded woman that was really done wrong, but I'm glad to see she's able to do the things she's doing now.
Absolutely. She is doing amazing. She's actually right now top 100 AI people on that list. And it's really amazing to see that. And you know, the advocacy that we are hearing from Chris is just amazing. And I wish most of us could be able to jump on that train because this is pretty scary. As Chris said, we may not know if it's actually Chris that is sitting here with us, or if it's his version of AI, you know, doing coming and talking to us. So this is how dangerous. I mean, I would say how urgent it needs to be that we stay ahead of, like he said, you know, the technologist to make sure like the technology does not pass the technologist. So as Chris is very passionate about I am very passionate about data engineering because they're very correlated together. You know, all these are data models that are being used to train this AI tools that we have. And for me, I know that numbers don't lie. Um, Data doesn't lie. I was trying to use AI recently to communicate to my wife who is Rwandese. So I was trying to tell it like, hey, teach me Rwandese. And what I was getting was I tried to speak to her and she was like, "What are you saying?" Which means that the language, like whatever AI was giving me, actually was not correct because we don't have a lot of language models that are being fed with some of the minor languages in the world. But if you go to, you know, English, Spanish, the major languages, you can be able to find the truth. So being a senior data engineer, being a data engineer, it means that we are the ones who are vetting this data to make sure like is actually is what we are getting what we are expecting. And I had to say like, you know, I was trusting this AI so much. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, with all the vibes and the hypes that we are hearing, it's not going to tell me something that is not true in relation to language, for example. But then I said, how do I do a data check as a data engineer to make sure that my wife is not wanting me to learn her language by telling me that what I'm saying is inaccurate. So I said, teach me, talk to me in my mother's language. I speak about 4 languages, and I said, teach me this language. So I said my local language, which is Kisi, and it lied to me completely. Everything it was saying was not Kisi. So as data engineers, our responsibility is to give the feedback to these models and say, this is not correct, this is not accurate. And some of the images that are being generated, Chris, I would say, I had one of my engineers at EPCO create an advert for EPCO that is related to what we do: coaching, job placement, data processing, cloud engineering, all those. And what came out, if I showed, I had a chance to show it to Sony, and I said, look at this clip and tell me what you see. And basically, it was a diverse population of engineers working together to make something happen. And apparently, one of the minority engineer that was depicted on this video looked like so disengaged, and while everybody else was doing the right thing. And I'm like, okay. So there is those, AI biases that Tim Gabriel was actually talking about, that Chris is talking about, in terms of making sure the accuracies are there, and that we are being represented by being involved and doing exactly what other people are doing, or the creators of AI are also doing. Yeah, so that's really inspired me to be in data, to collaborate with these AI models. And another thing is, as Chris said, there's so many people out here who have lost their jobs due to AI. There are so many people trying to make it happen, but as you say, they don't have a plan B. Some of them, they don't know that you can use the AI and optimize your resume. You use some of these AI tools that are screening these resumes to help you find a job, and even to be very specific and say, like, give me maybe an 85% accuracy of passing the ATS, tool. And it's unfortunate that if we don't have that knowledge, then we're going to be left behind. And that's why I'm involved. That's why I'm here to proceed and take this conversation to the next level and make sure that we bring that awareness.
And thank you so much, Elvis, for that. I'm just sharing my screen here. This is something that we also looked at in our conversation yesterday about the top 5 technical skills needed in the future. And when they say the future, it's in the next 2 years, or even right now moving forward. The top technical skill that's needed is AI and machine learning. And so far, only 48% of people are proficient in this particular field. Data management is right there. I'm sure you were very happy yesterday when
I was very happy to see that.
And it looks like we have 69% of people who are proficient in data management. So the next question is, what simple tools would you suggest for people to start to kind of experiment? Once they are off that, change curve, they're off denial, they're off the depression stage, and they're now climbing up the curve, and they're trying to experiment. What are some of the tools that you recommend, and free tools for now? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, from my own experience, and I'm gonna let Chris add on to some of this because he's the main guru here in this. But what I have seen that is being used mostly in the workplace, for example, is ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot, and those are the ones that I've mainly used and tested. And to be honest, most of what I see that is more accurate, I don't know if Chris may be able to tell us how this is, but I find ChatGPT to be more accurate when I'm vetting the results that I'm getting than Microsoft Copilot. So I rely mainly on those two. And I mean, they're free. If you have a Microsoft account or you know, a ChatGPT, you can create a free account and be able to utilize those. So those are the ones that I use and coach my engineers with as well. Yeah.
Any other?
Chris, I don't know if Chris may add others, maybe his own version as well.
No, those
Yeah.
are two good ones, the Copilot and then GPT 3.5,
Yes.
which are the free versions. If you want to pay a little money, you could do Anthropic's Claude Opus, and that'll be like $20 a month, and then you can do GPT-4, which is like $20 a month. It's a GPT plus. I would actually lend this one though. I think it's a good habit if you go to a platform like Hugging Face.
Mm.
And on Hugging Face, you're going to have a ton of open source models there. And if you want to know one of the best areas to really understand what's happening in AI, the open source community and what they have available on the Hugging Face, those are going to be really fun. I'd also add 11 Labs on there as well. 11 Labs is the best for sound engineering. If you're doing anything with video editing, you can do Podcastle. You can also add in Runway. I think that'll be really fun. Midjourney for those that are into images. But GPT-4, when it comes to DALL-E 3, it's pretty formidable in comparison to Midjourney. But I think Hugging Face will be a good educational point. It'll be good open source. Llama 3 is actually really good because you're kind of thinking about on one hand, there's the parameter level where GPT was built on over over a trillion parameters. You get something like what just came out with like Apple Elm or Microsoft Pi. Those are smaller parameters, but you're looking at about, maybe 8.1 billion parameters versus GPT 3.5 that's made on 375 billion parameters, but the 8.1 has it's just as capable as a 800 or as a 350.
Wow.
Why is that, right? And I think Elvis will appreciate this is because the data.
Yeah.
See, don't let Elvis look. Elvis, the rule that Elvis has is critically important because here's how it goes. And Elvis, you correct me if I'm wrong. You have the person that has an idea, they want to build out some type of model. They got to go to a data scientist to start working on the baseline data and create the data set. But that data set has to go to Elvis, and it has to go to a data engineer to be able to really work that and start really training that model, if you will. So no wonder it's 69%. Data is the biggest, I mean, to the letter of it all. I mean, with what he's doing when it comes to AI, that is
the raw material.
It's the most important career that you can have right now in AI is managing data. But the data engineers, you cannot do this without a data engineer. You cannot do this without a data scientist. Can't.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Chris. So what I would add onto that is of all the list of tools that both Elvis and Chris have shared, choose one and just have a curious mind. Have a curious mind and play around with it. It might seem like it's a lot of overwhelming information. That is what happens when you're learning. We are all learning, right? We are all in the process of learning. So choose one of those tools and play around with it. And information is out there. It's out there on YouTube. Again, Elvis and Chris are also on standby if you need some guidance on that. So
yeah, I just wanted to add really quick there, so I got Samsung Galaxy S24 2 days ago. And it's amazing now that in conversation that I am calling Chris and maybe I can't understand Chris's language. Maybe I only speak Swahili or something. And I can just, in the real-time conversation, I can talk to Chris in Swahili and he can hear me in English. And he can talk to me in English and I can hear him in Swahili. This is what they have now incorporated. The two languages I saw there right now is English and Spanish. So, so you can have a girlfriend that doesn't speak your language and still be able to have a relationship.
And a lot of that is what we talk about with concatenative and parametric synthesis. So when you get a chance to check out the 11 labs, that is being able to take your voice, clone it, and to be able to speak fluidly. And I haven't heard about that and that's the fun part about this too.
It is, yeah.
Stuff is just showing up, and it's just, you're just not going to be able to carry it all. You got to
Absolutely.
have environments like this speaking engagement where people
Mhm.
are sharing, and that's part of Gatherverse is human and peer-to-peer communication sharing. And so now I'm like, geez, Louise, Elvis, may have to go. It's
Yeah,
powerful. I'm like,
it is
ooh,
powerful. Yeah,
but we're learning together.
Right. So
absolutely.
speaking of the deep fake, I'm glad that you brought it up.
Mhm.
We mentioned earlier about the Institute of the Future, and we say that one of the things that they are predicting or the next crisis is the deep fake, the spread of fake news. So especially right now that we are in election year, what are some of the things that we can do to protect ourselves from being scammed or from being victims of artificial intelligence? Just basic things that we can do as a community to protect ourselves from that kind of danger. I guess AI danger. Elvis, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first, and then I'll just give the diluted version here, and then we'll get the meat and potatoes from Chris.
Okay.
So basically, from what I've seen, I mean, we've already actually seen the elections across different countries being influenced by misinformation. I think we've had some false robot calls that are, imitating maybe presidents or leaders' voices calling people and saying it's them while it's actually not them. I don't know if you've seen this. So I think it's very, very important for us to incorporate what we are reading, to see if there is consistency with what we are hearing. It's all again data, analyzing this to see, like, is this actually, could this person have said this? I think we just have to do our due diligence to know the person, to know our politicians, and to be able to know whether it is actually them saying something or not. Is it within their character or not? I'll let Chris add to that.
Sure. And to kind of piggyback on that, listen, I'm going to kind of level with everyone here is that there's going to be there's a dark period right now because these models are so capable and so just dramatically convincing to the sound of your auditory listening and to the visualization of your cognitive load. And when I say that you aren't equipped to some degree just to deal with whether this is real or not.
Yeah.
And right now, there's defensive mechanisms, the defensive workforces that are being developed and defensive platforms, which, hey, may be a good idea for some of y'all that want to become entrepreneurs to deal in AI defense, because there's no way to be able to detect all the images. That's OpenAI just announced yesterday that it's coming out with, it's working on technology that can be able to tell you whether you're dealing with a fake image. And if they get that, that can be instilled in all the different social media that we use and all of that. But the deal is that it's so convincing and so real that, just like what Elvis said about the robocalls, and that's when you start looking at concatenative conversations. Go look up the Kodak avatar when you get a chance with what Meta has. I said it in 2000 and I think I said it in 2022 October before. In fact, that may have been October 2021 or November 2021 before the AI explosion. That the biggest thing that gives me pause about AI, probably one of the biggest things that gives me pause about AI to this day, is what Meta has been building when it comes to the Kodak avatar, is because the persona of your body can be projected and you're communicating in this space, and it's a suspended deepfake in real time. So it's not like it's doing a deepfake and you got to go hack and build around that. It's suspending that deepfake to be able to animate in real time. So you can imagine having a Met Gala, and it's all completely not even real, and you can watch it and you're saying this is the Met Gala, and you come home and tell your person, your wife, or your, if you're a woman, your husband, or if you will, and you say, hey, I saw the Met Gala and I saw Whoopi Goldberg or I saw Michelle Obama. And she's like, she wasn't in that. And you go look at what you watched and you realize, oh, that wasn't even a real Met Gala I just watched.
Mm-hmm.
And you enjoyed it as if it were. Here's our point. You're going to have to rely on the information available. Be careful where you take and what you consider gospel, if you will, when it comes to information that's deployed. And a lot of this is going to have to be reliant within your own heart and mind. But with what we're getting ready to see, and people say, well, what does it make a difference? It's just a vote. You're talking
Big
about
difference. The policies, they are going to, these
Yeah.
people are the ones going to make those policies that, you know, change
Yeah,
our
so
daily
vote,
life.
vote for the right leader. And the other thing that I can add as well, especially when it comes to the deep fake and all the scamming calls, someone suggested it's very important, and I do this with my family, to have a code or a PIN such that if you get a call that seems suspicious, for example, one of the congressmen got a call from an AI that pretended to be his son asking for $60,000, and he almost sent the $60,000. In that case, then if you have a code, you can ask the person, what's the family code? And that can at least help out in one way or another to prevent such scenarios. So we have about 7 minutes. And with that, I would like to ask one very important question. And I see we have quite a few questions on the Q&A section. Chris, someone was asking if you were talking about Lemon Lab or 11 Lab when we talked about the AI tools.
11, the number 11.
Okay, so
11 labs.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the other question that was pre-submitted is, on the recent interview on 60 Minutes, the godfather of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, said that with great power comes great responsibility. He emphasized the importance of safety measures, regulations, and international treaties to navigate the uncertainty of AI's future responsibility. What can individuals do in their realm of influence to prevent the harmful implications of AI? And I know we've talked a little bit about this, but is there anything else that you might want to add as well?
I can go first. I think we can be sure, like, to stop spreading misinformation. If we find something that is coming to us and we know it's completely true, you know, take a second and think about it, or do some research about the source before you start spreading that, so we can be agents of, you know, defense AI, the defense AI, so to speak, on a shallower end, to prevent some things like that from happening. And then let Chris proceed with that.
Sure, I agree with everything that Elvis is saying. And let's kind of go 40,000 feet up for a second, can we? Because this is a really big deal what Professor Hinton is saying. Geoffrey Hinton is the one of the 3 authors of the bat propagation algorithm. You don't have too many minds like the Hintons and the Elias Istovers and the Jan LeCuns and the Wolframs, if you will, that really understand AI to their level and have contributed to the development of what it is that we're enjoying today. You know, Sam Altman wasn't the guy that was building all these things like that. Here's where I'm getting at. A lot of what these guys built, like Professor Hinton and Jan LeCuns and the Fei Lees, it's their students that have deployed these models. So their very students are the ones that are deploying that. And so the teachers are looking at the progress of the student and they're sitting here saying, wait a second. We know we taught them well, but did we teach them about humanity and human sustainability? And they realized they didn't do a good job of that.
Yeah.
Now he's saying we need to combat that. And the question that's been asked is, how do we combat this? Let me tell you something. If your answer to combating this when it comes to misinformation, disinformation, on the bad hacker level, if your answer is to take this group of people that use it every day and to equip them with information and to be able to come out with forward frameworks, to become a man, you missed the greatest opportunity. One of the ways that you combat that is to, one, provide a mechanism that drives accessibility for every single human being on this planet who hasn't even used, even heard of ChatGPT, that don't even have access to use broadband and Wi-Fi. Give them the opportunity to contribute to the great narrative, and be it that it is may that you have more human centricity and contribution contributing to the development and the refinement of this, that you will have more people involved in developing and taking it for what it is now, and to be able to better preserve it and put it through the human refinement filter. What is the human refinement filter?
Yeah.
If you have more people that contribute to the great development of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies, it helps you to be able to get more advocates than those that would do harm. And you consequently have more soldiers to be able to combat those that would take something. It's just like with World War II. You had those that have very dominant positions, but it took the world, if you will, to be able to combat and to be able to deal with that. We need to start thinking about a greater cloud consensus. We need to start thinking about a hive mind development, refinement, and filter process. But we most importantly need to make sure that platforms and places, third world countries here in the United States, all different countries in Africa, places in East Africa and West Africa. I don't care if you're in Nigeria, the Lagos, if you're all the way down in Kenya, or if you're over in Cote d'Ivoire and Ivory Coast, and if you're out here in Oakland, California, and the ghettos of East Oakland and North Oakland, it doesn't matter at this point. Whatever solution that you come up with, if not everyone has the opportunity to contribute. Why? Because your problem isn't the thing that Jeffrey Hinton is talking. Yes, that's a problem, but you already have a problem. The biggest problem that you have is that you haven't included humanity in it. That is the biggest problem.
Absolutely.
So to the ones that are here, you demand, if you don't have available and access to it, you write to your governments and to your teachers, your instructors, pick up the phone and call Elvis. Come
And I'm glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up.
Come and send me a message.
Right.
Or look at the leaders that produced this very event that you're at. Now is the time. I'm telling you, if you listen, there is a wave coming.
Yep, it's predicted.
And this is the time where you don't fight with sticks and stones and bottles and you fight with your mind.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought up Africa, because I see a question from Edward that says, how does AI impact the marginalized countries in Africa?
Wow.
And yeah, and I believe you already answered that. We just need to make sure that, it's all about accessibility.
Accessibility. Yeah.
Right? And right now, I believe there are people that are joining all the way from Africa, and it's around 2, 3 in the morning, but they are up to learn this information. And once you learn, then the next time you want to spread that information, go on LinkedIn, send a message, post something appreciating Chris and Elvis, and tag your friends and tell them, hey, there is information that we can learn. We don't have to wait to be victims. There is a platform that we can actually be a part of to learn this information and to normalize this conversation. And with that, it's 8:01, and we always like to honor everybody's time. We do really, really thank you, Chris, for, again, bringing in your expertise, and Elvis as well. We do not take it for granted. And everyone else that joined us, we thank you for staying on from beginning. Some information may have been, you may need to watch the recording to kind of digest the information. But again, that is how we're going to normalize this kind of conversation. Before you leave, we have one last poll that would like to launch. Now that you have learned a little bit about the basics and tips to embrace AI. How confident are you in embracing AI and learning more moving forward? How confident do you feel? All right, thank you for participating. So we have 36% very confident, that is great. And 64% that is confident. I am so glad that we don't have anyone that's still uncertain. So that means that we've done the work that we needed to do in this 1 hour session. So thank you so much. And one more thing, we always like to end with actionable items moving forward. Actionable items here. Number one, now that you've learned how to embrace AI, the second step is register for the next webinar, which is on June 13th. This will be leveraging AI in the workplace. Be sure to connect on LinkedIn as well. And again, my apologies that the chat is not working. We're not sure what happened. Otherwise, we would have been sending those links on your chat. But no worries, we're going to follow up with an email with all the information that you need. Also join the Men Impact Change 2.0 Future Ready community. Again, we want to be surrounded to be in an environment of like-minded people that are trying to learn so that we can encourage each other and we can learn together. Also feel free to make a donation. Again, this is 100% sponsored webinar. So should you feel called, go on our website, menimpactchange.org/donation to make your donation on there. I did mention at the very beginning that we are celebrating 10 years on October 12th. So our 10th year gala and honor ceremony will be coming up on Saturday, October 12th. So you are more than welcome to attend. And again, all that information will be shared shortly. Thank you so much again. And I was just looking to see if we have anything else on the Q&A section. All right, so people are saying great conversation. That's Anthony. Anthony has been with Men Impact Change since the beginning. Thank you, Anthony, for that. And I see, thank you so much for joining us tonight. That's one of Men Impact Change attendee staff members. What are the different domains of AI? So what I would say, since we are running out of time, please connect with Elvis and Christopher on LinkedIn. They'll be more than happy to answer those questions, or reach out to us and we'll be happy to connect you. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you. We wish you a wonderful evening. And Chris and Elvis, we will definitely get connected. We want to be a part of the Gatherverse. We want to know how we can all go about it.
Absolutely.
So much.
Yep.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you.
All
Have a
right.
good one.
Thanks.
Bye.